So why don't we talk about defense? Bryce Huff, Nick Bosa, Yetur Gross-Matos all out. And now, we're talking about should they trade for a pass rusher? Should they bring in Trey Hendrickson or Kayvon Thibodeau and trade a first-round pick or a second-round pick? And it makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to plug holes and you have assets to trade, but they did just spend the 11th pick in the draft on a defensive end. I mean, they literally just did that. And usually defensive ends picked with the 11th pick are somewhat of a threat as a pass rush. And so far, Mykel Williams, he's been really good against the run, and that's great. But he's not really making the impact as a pass rusher that you would expect a first-round pick to make, let alone a top 11 pick. How concerned are you about Mykel Williams?
I'm not really. Honestly, this is what I thought when I analyzed the pick. That was my takeaway, right? You look at what he did in college. He never played the role where he's a pass rusher from wide nine. He's never done that. So I never expected him to be that guy. Now he can be. He's super talented physically, and he might. When I say he can be, I'm not saying he will be. I'm saying it's a possibility with his physical talent, but it's going to take some time. Never really expected him to be that guy this year. I think he was more of a plan in complementary with Nick Bosa. But when you take away Nick Bosa and then now you expect Mykel to kind of fill those shoes, I don't think that's ever realistic. Not this year.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't draft a complimentary pass rusher with the 11th pick. And I think the thought process from the Niners, the way they sold it to themselves and maybe to us, is that, okay, he was a complimentary pass rusher at Georgia, but he was playing out of position. He was playing 4-eye. Over here, we're going to put him in the wide nine, and we're going to, let it pin his ears back. And Chris Kasarik is going to yell at him, and Nick Bosa is going to show him hand moves. And he's going to be a whole different player. And that sort of played out with Bryce Huff, right? Like Bryce Huff went to Philly. It was in a different scheme. It didn't look good. And Salah's like, nah. I know exactly how to use him, and it worked out. It hasn't worked out like that for Mykel Williams. He doesn't look like a great fit as a D end in a wide nine. He looks kind of like a 3-4 outside linebacker. I don't know what his position is. I just know that pressure's on him to step up as a pass rusher because they're not trading for Trey Hendrickson. And if he's the kind of guy that gives you 3 sacks a year, then he wasn't worth the first-round pick, especially when you took another defensive lineman in the second round who is very similar and seems to be worth that pick. So that's how I'm feeling.
And another defensive lineman in the third round, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying, Sporth.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. You want with 11th is a really high draft pick. You want an impact player. And I think he has made an impact in the run game.
Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now.
But I think when you're assuming that this guy's going to do this in the pros when he didn't do it in college, I think that's risky with an 11th pick. You want to see the guy that you're picking at 11 overall, you want to see that he's actually done what you want him to do. You want to see that he's done that in college. It's a little risky not seeing that in college. That being said, I do think Mykel's a specimen, and it's possible he does develop into something like that, but it's not going to be right away.
My issue is the Niners have a very bad track record of drafting defensive linemen, especially since Kyle Shanahan's been here. Now, they drafted Nick Bosa. That was a home run. But everyone else, it seems like they reach for someone who didn't have a lot of sack production in college, and they justify it by saying, oh, we have Chris Kasarik. He'll coach them up. I'm thinking Javon Kinlaw. I'm thinking Drake Jackson. And Robert Beal. You can't show me one example of Chris Kasarik turning some run defender into a premium edge rusher. What he does usually is take that failed edge rusher and just move him to defensive tackle on pass rush downs. That's what he does. He did it for Arden Key, did it for Charles Omenihu. He was going to do it for Mykel Williams. But maybe they should stop drafting, major projects on the D-line and hoping that Chris Kasarik can figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a bigger point, and this might be – maybe this isn't the way I want to do my last show, but I'm being real here, man. We might have seen the peak of the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan already. We might have. And the reason why I say that is just this offensive line needs to be completely revamped. I know I should probably hold off on this, but the core of this team, the George Kittles, the Trent Williams, the Christian McCaffreys, we've seen their best already. They're not getting better. Next year, they're not going to be better. So this team has to it's a rebuild. They're trying to like stretch it out and not enter full rebuild this season. But that's probably what they should have done, because these guys are not going to get better next year, this core of the 49ers. And we're going to talk more about why I'm bothered with Kyle a little bit, but I hate to be a pessimistic on my last show, but that's how I feel right now.